get this rolling. All right. Yes. So last week was liquid verbs. And there were two types of liquids. If you remember, we looked at liquid futures. Anybody remember liquid futures? Hopefully somebody was awake enough. Yes. What's that? Oh, you're not in. You're not in. Sorry. Yeah, let me it's not letting me know for some reason. It used to chime at me when people wanted to get admitted. No, it doesn't seem to. Okay, let's try this. Okay, you should be in now. All right. So liquid futures, and remember we talked about verbs that end in lambda, mu, nu, and rho, and that these particular types of verbs drop the sigma in the future, the tense formative, they add an epsilon, and then they contract like these epsilon contract verbs. So in many cases, when you have a stem, so for instance here, this is the paradigm meno, and we saw that it ends in a nu. So the dictionary form, the lexicon form would be meno, and the accent would be over the epsilon, and instead it shifts over to the omega, and it becomes a circumflex, right? So we walked through the paradigms for liquid futures, and let's go through them again real quick and do just a little bit of drill. We're going to start with liquid futures, the singular for first through third person, and then altogether the first person singular, meno. Meno. Mm-hmm. So the future of meno, second person singular, menes. Mm-hmm. So of course we're talking about the active, right? Active indicative. So third person future would be mene. Mm-hmm. And then the plural. So starting with the first person plural, menuamen. Second person plural, meneita. Mm-hmm. And how would you translate that, Ben?
Second person plural, they. No, yeah, they will.
You. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, not third person. Second
You
person.
will
remain
or wait or stay. Mm-hmm. And then the third person plural, menuisen. Okay, they will remain or stay, right? So again, the lexical form, meno, liquid verb. You see that there's a shift in the accentuation. So first person singular moves over the circumflex, or rather moves over the omega, becomes a circumflex. And then praise the third person singular, mene. How would you translate that?
He or she or it
will remain. Mm-hmm. Will remain. Okay. All right. And then we saw that there's some stem changes, and we said we're not going to try to memorize them all. We're just going to try and recognize them, right? So for instance, the paradigm for the stem change would be iro. You can see that there in the bottom right. Iro in the present, I raise, and in the future, aro, I will raise. Okay, so the paradigm form in the present, altogether, I row. Mm-hmm. And that's, I don't see an accent there. There should be one. But I row, and then in the future, row. Oh, the accent is there. It's just to the breathing mark is kind of hiding it. So yeah. And then you keep the breathing mark in the future, but now the stem changes. And so we saw that the iota drops out, right? And so the stem here would just be alpha rho, and I will raise. Yeah. or I lift up, I should. All right, and then the other one I'll call out is the doubled lamb. And so the paradigm here is apangelo. And that's of course, the present active indicative, first person singular. It's the lexical form. And then when we look at the future, the lambda drops and it becomes apangelo with a circumflex over the omega. Okay. So all together, let's in the present, apangelo. Okay, and then the future, apangelo. Yeah, so you have a doubling of double consonants in the present, and then you still have the doubling of the gamma, right? And Tommy, you remember this is makes it sound similar in English to NG, and so when we like the word angel in English, which is a transliteration, angelos, so that first gamma then is pronounced like a nu, kind of like it has an N sound, so it's apangelo. Okay, I will announce. All right, and then apostello becomes apostello. Ballo becomes ballo. I throw or I cast. I will throw, and I will cast. All right. So that's the future. That's the future, liquid futures. Again, what are liquid verbs? They're verbs whose stems end in lambda, rho, mu, nu, which are considered liquids, right? So they have some characteristics of both vowels and consonants, right? So they're not stops. They don't, you don't stop the airflow when you make that sound, but it's not a full vowel, right? Now let's look at liquid aorist. And remember with aorist, what are we looking for to identify the aorist? First of all, there is the augment, right? There's the augment. So augment is the epsilon. And so when we look at the aorist first person singular of meno. So again, the paradigm verb here is meno, which we looked at on the last slide. It becomes emmena. Everybody together? Emmena. Tommy? Emmena. Emmena. One more time, everybody all together? Emmena. Okay. So what happened to the root here? Remember in the lexical form, it's mu, epsilon, nu, omega, right? So what happened here? What's extra? Iota. That's compensatory lengthening. So meno, right, becomes emmena in the aorist. So all this is just adding an iota here between the epsilon and the nu.
The compensatory lengthening, as you call it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it hard to distinguish in my mind, like second aorist tense, because it shares a lot of that stuff too, and crossing over to liquid aorist, because I'm having a hard time. I haven't fully grasped second aorist tense, but it looks very similar.
Yeah, and actually that's a great point that you bring up. Don't make it a priority to categorize, right? Like just be able to recognize. So let me tell you what I mean again. So let's look back at the last slide, right? Remember we looked at a few of these. Let's go back to this again. This is what I want you to be able to do. I want you to recognize this form, right? You don't need to be able to reproduce it. Apangelo, all right? And you'll remember from your vocabulary, and of course you just need to do this by rote a little bit, come up with some stories, a memorable thought, write it down, speak it. And from a little bit of drill and from experience, increasingly as you start reading, right, it'll reinforce it. I pronounce or I announce, right? That's what I want you to see. That's what I want you to see, right? Now, all of a sudden, let's imagine you're reading and you come upon this form right here. If you're really familiar with this form, then this form is going to seem familiar to you, right?
Because of the circumflex and the contraction.
That's right. You're going to be like, you know what? This looks a lot like apangelo, except that it's apangelo, right? Oh, it's just missing a lamed. It's just missing a lambda. What does that mean? Oh, that means that it is a stem change that we characterize and we recognize as part of the future, right? And it must be a liquid verb. All right.
All circumflexes for liquid verbs, is that future tense?
Not all circumflexes. That's a good question. I don't want to, the subjunctive will also have it, but I don't want to go into, let's just take it kind of step by step with this. But for right now, for what you know, yes, that's correct.
That was something they mentioned in the video, is that
Mhm.
the circumflex is a dead giveaway for certain types.
Yes, it is a giveaway for it is a giveaway that it's not like a present indicative. You know, it's a giveaway that it's different. You know, and then when you see this, then what you want to ask is, what is the stem? Right? And hopefully you've already committed to memory this, right? Apangelo, right? And if you don't, then guess what? Look it up in a lexicon in Logos, right? Or in Logos, and you find this and you're like, okay, I see what's going on here. Well, the only difference is right here between these two is the lambda and the accent. All right. So I know this means, you know, I announce, and I know this means I will announce. So don't, you know, now, yes, with the second aorist, those are also changes, right? So there's changes in the stem, but don't focus on the categories, just focus on familiarity. Work through the exercise, keep working through the exercises in the book. You know, I would go over them probably 2 or 3 times, maybe once you write them and then work through them again. So that when you see apangelo, you know, that is the future of apangelo, right? It becomes familiar to you. And after you work through a few of those, you'll start to see the patterns subconsciously. You won't even think about them anymore. Okay. So we looked at the liquid futures and now liquid aorist. And so what we're looking for is to recognize a stem here. And so, okay, mu, epsilon, nu, got it, meno, right? What's this iota doing here? It's a liquid, right? So you add an iota. You don't need to even work through all that. You just need to be able to just see a few of these by sight. And after a while, after I did this, I didn't even think about it anymore. Like you just becomes familiar. It becomes a pattern to you. Okay. All right. So, and it did actually, yeah, it talks about the mechanics here, which we went through last time for the compensatory lengthening. So let's also help ourselves out. We're going to do a little bit more drill. And again, we're coming back to what we did last week, but you know, you're almost to the end. Okay. You're almost to the end of the major verb forms, right? Tense forms. So there's only, you know, one major one that's coming up, and then you're on the home stretch. Okay. So, but let's drill this in just a little bit. So let's go through the liquid aorist again. Again, we'll start with the singular for meno. I remain. So it's emena. Aorist, active, indicative, second person singular, emenas. Aorist, active, indicative, third person singular, emenen. Emenen. All right. Aorist, active, indicative of meno in the first person plural. Emenamen. Emenamen. Okay, there it is. Mu, epsilon, little infixed iota. The infixed iota from compensatory lengthening is our clue. that it was a liquid valve, right? That ends in the new. All right. Second person plural, emenate.
Amenate.
And then the aorist active indicative third person plural, emmenon.
Amen.
Emmenon.
M.
Emmenon. Okay, good. Can you see the screen still?
Yeah.
Okay, mine just flashed off. Now it's back. All right. So here's a very good tell. I'm sorry, this is probably on your screen, also very small, but remember we talked about distinguishing the imperfect and the aorist. Now, what was the main difference between the imperfect and the aorist? We know what they have in common, right? Which is, there it goes again. So I'm not sure. Okay, there we go. So we have the augment, right? But what's going on here with the stem with the imperfect? Has it changed or is it the same?
No, it's the same.
It's the same, right? Moo, right? And then, sorry, I'm gonna have to go back. This is keeps kind of cutting out on me here. So I'm gonna see what I need to do here. Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that too. How about now? Is it kind of,
It's just on.
it's on? Okay, mine is off.
Yeah, I forgot it. Too, but yeah, that's weird.
It's off, like I'm really like totally off. Here. Now my computer's not responding at all. Might be me, I'm gonna try. Preparing security options. Okay, did I get hacked?
Because they really wanted all your group notes.
Yeah, it's like when to steal my imperfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have no idea what happened there. Oh, here we go. Now my computer's going super, super slow. That's not a good sign. It's at 100% memory right now. You know what? I'm gonna have to start just shutting some windows down. This is a pretty high-end computer, so it's never done this before. So I don't know why it's having problems. Sorry, let's see. Oh, Teams. I had to turn on Teams today, and I have a feeling it's causing problems.
Some programs that just don't play well with others.
Yeah. All right. Let's give me one. I'm going to try and turn some other things off too. Just give me a second, just so we don't keep dealing with this. My goodness, with a list of like, I have so many like services. Like if you have Windows computer, like has services that run in the background,
Mhm.
and there's like pages and pages of them. I wonder how many of them are viruses.
Just switch.
It's just a minority.
Probably not more than 30%.
Yeah, right. Okay. Bun. What is bun?
Not familiar with that one.
Okay, I think it's in a better state now. So let's Give it a try. Oh, okay. Here, this thing is open too. Oh, okay. Okay, I know what happened. Now I know what happened. I had a coding session open earlier, and then I closed the laptop without stopping a script, and now it's trying to it was trying to reconnect. So that might be part of it. I should have stopped that script. Okay, I think we're going to be fine now. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going through here. We're looking at aorist, and remember we said the difference between the imperfect and the aorist. Tommy, remember with the imperfect, there's no stem change, right? And with the aorist, sometimes we have the iota compensatory lengthening. Okay. All right, and let's take a few examples again. So if you look at this liquid verb summary here in the bottom right, our lexical form is iro, I lift up, I exalt, and then the future is aro. Altogether, aro.
Aro.
And the aorist is era.
Era.
So what's going on here is you have the alpha, which is part of the stem. You add the epsilon augment and you get a eta. Alpha plus epsilon augment is, Tommy, eta.
Totally.
Yes. And then you have the circumflex. Okay. And let's do one more, just because remember, like the preposition. So apangelo, remember we said means announce or pronounce perhaps. And then in the future it's apangelo. So let's all say the lexical form together. Apangelo. Apangelo. I announce. I announce. Okay. And then the future, apangelo. Apangelo. Circumflex. Right. And then the aorist, apingela. Apingela. Okay. So what's going on over here? So remember that there are compound forms, and so this is actually apo plus angelo, which also means to announce. So it's an intensifying form, more declarative and more formal. Apangelo in the future. In the aorist, the augment actually comes after the preposition, right? When the preposition, that compounding preposition, is added to the stem, the omicron drops, and so now you have alpha and p instead of alpha p omega. Apo, which means away, apo, right? So the omicron is sorry about that. Omicron drops out. Now we have the stem here, which is angelo, and we have alpha plus an epsilon, and then that lengthens to eta. Okay. Now what's going on over here with the rest of the stem, right? So if we see that the stem looks like this, right? Let's just cut the compound out for a second, and it's angelo, right? And now we come over here and forget about the augment for a second, and we'll just say it's angela, right? Lengthens to angela. But wait a minute, epsilon iota, right? And so we know that that's the same stem. We know that that's the same stem as over here. But what we have here again is just augment, lengthens to eta. And then the stem, we see a shift in the stem. It just adds that extra iota in there. Okay. So I'm starting to slow down a little bit with these forms because I know they're stacking up on you. All right. So before we get into the material today, I thought it would be good for us to come back. We're going to be looking at third declension, as they're called. There's nothing specific or unique as to why they should be called third declension, but just they're a different form. We're going to be looking at those nouns today. But we're going to go back and look at the first declension and second declension really quickly. So you'll remember first declension nouns all follow a specific form, right? And you'll remember they're primarily feminine, occasionally masculine, but normally they're feminine. And there are alpha dominated and there are eta dominated. So we're not going to go through each form. I don't have an eta dominated form here, but this one is an alpha dominated form. So you have here at the end in alpha, right? Alpha, 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 right? So hey, hora, which is the hour, okay? And that's your nominative singular, the genitive tes, horas, okay, of the hour, right? Remember, genitive is generally possession. And then dative, which generally is the indirect object, to or from, right? So te, hora, you remember meant to or from the hour. Okay? So it doesn't necessarily make sense, but this is the paradigm verb we're using right now. And in the accusative, tain, horan. Tain, horan. All right, I'm going to do one more thing I think is going to help this out a little bit. Because it still seems to be, are you guys seeing, is it moving slow? Does it seem to be moving slow for you?
Seems to be okay, but it's hard to tell.
All right. Okay, all right. Okay, so that was a first declension noun. First declension noun, right? So let's actually all go through it one more time. We looked at this before, but let's walk through. We'll start with the singular in each one of the cases. You remember that there were essentially 4 cases, actually 5 if you include a vocative case, the case of address, but 4 major cases: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, right? Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. All right, so let's walk through this first declension feminine noun, okay? And let's start with the singular nouns in number, and let's start with the nominative case, right? So again, hey, hora,
Hey, hora.
which is nominative, singular, feminine, right? So if we parse it, which means tell me the grammatical information about it. What's the case? Nominative. What's the number, Tommy?
Singular,
Okay, and what's the gender?
feminine.
Feminine. There we go. All right. So let's walk through that this time the entire column for singular for this first declension feminine noun. So hey, hora.
Hey, hora.
Tes, horas.
Tes horas.
Te, hora.
Te hora.
Tain, horan.
Hey, hora.
Okay, very good. Now let's go over to the plural. Against with the nominative case. Hai, horai.
Hora.
Ton, horon.
Ton horon.
Tais, horais.
Nice, alright.
Good. Tas, horas.
Tas, horas.
So that's the accusative. Okay, very good. All right, so that's first declension. And then there were the second declension nouns. You'll remember the second declension nouns were primarily either masculine or neuter. Masculine or neuter, but they could also be feminine. Okay, so first declension nouns are primarily feminine. Second declension nouns are masculine or neuter, but some first declension nouns are masculine and some second declension nouns are feminine. Okay, so you have to look for the article. The article will tell you. That's the feminine article. I don't have the article in here, but this would be a masculine right here. It would be an omicron with a rough breathing mark. The backwards apostrophe, ho, logos, right? And then for the neuter, you remember it was tau, Omicron. Did I say that right? Yes. And it was to ergon, right? So that's how you know, because of the tau, Omicron, to tells you neuter, neuter, right? Okay. All right. So let's walk through a second declension. We're going to kind of mix it up. In the singular here, we're going to choose this masculine noun logos. So masculine nominative singular of logos is just logos, because that's the lexical form, right? The masculine genitive singular is logu. Masculine dative singular is logo. Logo. Tommy, logo. Masculine dative singular, right? All right. And then masculine accusative singular logon. Logon. Okay. All right. And then the plural for those would be, we'll just now just go straight down the chart here. Logoi, genitive logon. The plural dative would be logos. And the plural accusative would be logus. Logus. Okay, very good. And then we'll look at the neuter one. Nominative singular, ergon. Genitive singular, ergu. Dative singular, ergo. Okay, second declension noun. Nominative, neuter. Plural, erga. Genitive plural, ergon. Dative plural, ergois. And accusative plural, erga. Erga. Okay, there we go. All right. So even with all that drilling, you still need to be doing it on your own as well. And then as we read, of course, it'll be much more helpful because you're sort of drilling as you start to read. Yeah, and we're getting very close now to where we can start to do some really meaningful reading. Okay, so we talked about first declension, second declension. First declension is nouns are primarily feminine. Second declension nouns are primarily masculine or neuter. Okay. Now, third declension nouns. Third declension is just another pattern, right? I mean, when we talk about a declension, it's just a different ending, right? It's a different pattern. They could be masculine, they could be feminine, or they can be neuter. You need to look for the article. Okay, and I'll go ahead and tip my hat right away. I think this is later in the presentation, but they always end in consonant like this, which is a liquid consonant, right? So ho pater. Anybody know what that means? The father. So we get the word patristics, patrimony, patriarchy, pater, the father. All right. Then we have hey gune, which we know is it masculine or Tommy or feminine? Looking feminine. How do we know that? Eta with a rough breathing mark tells us indefinite article, or article, we should say, hey gune, and which that means the woman. So that's the word gynecology. I could think of any others. Gynecological. So there's probably a few other English words that are derived from that Greek root. Feminine, right? And then topneuma. Topneuma. Tommy, topneuma. The spirit. Okay. Neuter. There we go. So third declension nouns, they're really no different from first and second declension nouns. Okay. Again, I said these are sort of arbitrary grammatical tags that we use. The patterns are there, but they really have no difference in terms of their meaning. Okay. So you can read this. To pneuma estin he aletheia. So let's all say it. We're going to do it slowly together. To pneuma estin he aletheia. Okay. The Tommy.
Spirit
Mm-hmm. Estin, Ben.
Is, he is.
Mm-hmm. Can you parse that verb?
So it's a me verb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a verb of being, a copulative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Being is
Third person,
okay. Third person
active,
is singular.
indicative of amen. Amen. Remember, I am.
Yeah.
To pneuma estin. Like that. So the spirit is, right? Remember, third person be she, he, she, it is, right? He aletheia. The aletheia. Sometimes a female name, Alethea. The truth. Tapnumen,
The spirit.
tapnuma esin he aletheia.
So is it saying I will send? Okay.
Yeah. Let's try another one. So first of all, I'll read it for you, then we'll do it all together. Ho karpos tu pneumatos estin agape.
The fruit of the love.
Oh, I jumped ahead. I'm sorry. There's a slip of the finger on my, that's why I need that little, I need my little clicker thing. It's because of you people who cheat. See, when you see that, the honest thing to do is not look, right?
Came up on my screen.
Yeah, I guess I can't blame you. So, Okapos, what does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? The fruit. That's right. Oh, this thing is out now. Is it? Yeah, it's out. Okay.
Not my fault. You got butter fingers.
Think my big fingers, fat fingers, small keyboard.
Let's blame the Packard.
All right. So we're gonna say it all together slowly now. Ho karpos tu pneumatos estin agape. Okay. And then Tommy, you're gonna repeat after me. Ho karpos
So carpos
tu pneumatos
to pneumatos.
tu pneumatos
Pneumatos.
estin
Estin.
agape.
Agape.
Mm-hmm. Karpos tu pneumatos.
Yeah.
Karpos
Carpos
tu pneumatos.
to pneumatos.
Okay, so all together. Karpos tu pneumatos. Getting close. Getting close. Okay. And now everybody all together with me. Karpos tu pneumatos estin agape. Okay. So the of the Tommy.
Spirit.
Very good. From the lexical form pneuma. Okay. Is love. Okay. Very good. All right. And then one more here. Apen and to pneumate. Apen and to pneumati. Mm-hmm. And praise, try to parse apen. Aorist, active indicative, third person singular of Lego.
Oh, like what?
Yeah. So remember this is one of the ones we said has a different stem. So I guess that would make it a second aorist, right? Because now it's because the stem is unrelated.
Yeah.
So the stem is actually Lego. Lego, I speak. Tommy, say Lego, I speak.
Lego.
There we go. Now say Aepin. He, she, or it spoke. Aepin. Aepin and pneumati.
Spoken spirit.
So he said in the spirit,
Okay.
but it could also be she said in the spirit. Could be,
It said in the spirit.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, if you, that actually might be a sentence in the Septuagint. It said in the spirit.
Not in the
Yeah.
Septuagint.
Donkey.
It said in the spirit.
Interesting.
Technically, it could be in there.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
What does that first word mean?
Ethan.
Ethan? Yeah.
Aepin. So that's the
He should-
aorist, active, indicative, third person singular of Lego. So he said Lego. I said Aepin. He said
Okay.
Lego. I say. Excuse me. I said. I should have said. I say. Lego. I say. Present. Right. Present. Active, indicative, and then Aepin. Aorist. Active, indicative. Aorist. Active, indicative. Aepin.
It's a part of
Aepin.
second areas that confused me. Like if they're step by step of how Lego become a.
No, so that's the whole point with
Secondary.
it's sort of like in English, like I remember we said I go, I went.
Yeah.
So it turns out that went actually originally was the past tense of the verb wend. And that's a verb that we don't use very frequently, except in some sort of stock expressions, like to wend your way through a crowd. You ever heard that expression before? Even that is like very,
It's only gonna be in like some proper literature.
yeah, you don't hear that very much. But now went is the past of
Go.
yes.
We
So
decided not to make a past tense of go. We just
Yeah.
didn't like go.
Gone is different. It's a participle.
yes. Okay. All
So you
right,
just
one more.
memorize those things.
What's that?
You just memorize.
You have to memorize. So with the second aorist, yes, you need to memorize the second aorist stem along with the lexical form. And actually, when you're learning the lexical form, you're learning the principal parts for the present, active indicative, and also for the aorist, active indicative. There are other principal parts that we will see, but if you know those two, then you're not going to have much trouble with some practice in translation, right? Because it's, as we see here in this last example, eidento pneuma. So he, she, or it saw the spirit. Okay. Eidento pneuma. So let's do this all together. Tommy, you too. Eidento pneuma.
Aiden to Pranama.
And then all together again. Eidento pneuma.
Trying to figure out the meaning of the first word.
So he, she, or it saw. Okay. Yeah. So horao is I see. And then Aiden is he saw. So again, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those verbs that's irregular. It's irregular. As in English, we have a few of those, right? So remember we said most of the time in English that there is it's actually called the bound morpheme, and it can be spelled either with D or ED. So the present is I walk. What's the past? I walked, right? Okay. And by the way, there's some phonological rules, because if you spelled that way, but it's actually not pronounced that way. So I don't want to get on a rabbit trail with that, but just think about, say the past tense and you'll realize it's not a D sound. I walked. You see that? So there's actually a phonological rule in English that if the previous consonant is voiceless, then the past formative in English is also voiceless. Walked. All right.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. But anything else, it's the D sound. So like I play, I played. Yeah. All right. So we have our own rules that are difficult sometimes, right? For people who are non-native speakers. We're all non-native Greek speakers. So these are odd to us. Now, for me, I've been reading Greek texts for over 30 years. And in some small way, when we get into a class like this, I have to put myself back in the position of a learner, because you don't think about the rules of English grammar or phonology. You probably have never in your life thought about what I just told you, did you? About how the tense formative in English is actually voiceless
I
after
didn't know there was a rule.
unvoiced.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? But do you ever mispronounce it? Yeah.
No,
See, so for some of us, like who literally have been studying Greek for decades, we're going back and now having to try to teach it in a way that is unfamiliar. Because what I've been doing, after a first course in Greek has just been reading the text, right? Now you have to go back and put yourself in a position of someone who's actually learning it. You'll be in that position. Remember, you should think of like all the rules that we're learning, all the grammar that we're learning right now, you should think of them as scaffolding for a building. And once you've built the building, you don't need to keep the scaffolding. So older grammarians will insist that you can't really understand Greek unless you have a very detailed knowledge of formal grammar. But I think it's fair to say that most people over the course of history, even some very accomplished orators and writers, didn't have a very well-formed or regular ability to express and articulate the grammar of their own language, right? So they're two separate things. It's certainly helpful sometimes to break it down the way that we do here, but it's not necessary, actually. So as you're learning here, remember, these are helpful to get you started because you're learning a language, a frozen language, and a second language. But once you learn to read it, if you read it enough, you'll start to become, in some sense, much more like a native Greek reader.
Of the first century.
Yes, for me now, except for like a few texts in the New Testament where there's just a huge cluster of arcane vocabulary items, I read quite fluently in Greek. And oftentimes I read and I don't even pronounce the words. I sight read in Greek.
Yeah.
You'll get to that point where you'll read and you won't be thinking about the grammar, but the grammar is important for you right now. It's the scaffolding that helps you to learn the language, right? So, but I just say that to remember, look, the whole point of this is not for you to learn these grammar rules. They're there to help you. They're not an end in of themselves. Okay, Aiden took pneuma. He saw the Spirit. Hopefully it's just something like that. Yeah. All right. So you got your first exposure to third declension nouns, and now I'm going to break it down for you. As a grammarian and a teacher should, although I myself, when I read, don't think consciously to myself, is this a third declension noun?
Yeah.
Is this a second aorist verb? Is this a liquid verb? But it's helpful for you to take your first steps. Okay, so unlike first and second declension nouns, the stem of third declension nouns ends in a consonant, right? So when you have a stem in the third declension, you're going to see spelling changes. And so part of the original noun stem will drop off and combine in the nominative form. Here's an example. So I'm very familiar with this form from my reading of the Greek New Testament, as anybody would. Sarx.
Flesh.
However, I don't think about this when I read this, but in reality, this is not the stem. The stem is actually this: sigma, alpha, rho, kappa. But what happens when you add the nominative singular, which is a sigma, to a kappa? What sound is that? Xi, right? So kappa plus sigma equals C. Following that, Tommy? It's all phonological. It's all about the sound, right? So kappa plus sigma, Xi. So the kappa and the sigma combine, and then you see the Xi, okay? Sarx, flesh. All right, very good. Yes, so the genitive singular actually becomes important because although in this example right here, I could not detect just by looking at the noun what the lexical form would be, right? Or I should say what the stem would be. The lexical form, this is actually the lexical form, but this principal part will be included in the lexicon, or it'll say that it's a third declension noun, something like that. But when you look at the genitive, then you can tell. So that's why it's important to memorize this lexical form, the nominative form, and then also the genitive singular for third declension nouns. So let's just back up 1 second. I want to make sure we're all clear what we're doing here. Okay. This is a third declension noun. All right.
Okay.
This is a nominative singular. What's the function of the nominative most of the time? Typically, it's a subject, right? Typically the subject. Nominative singular. We see that the kappa and the sigma, that they blend and then they shift and become Xi, right? It's a phonological change, meaning a sound change, right? It's represented by a new letter. Now think about this, and I'll just say this and then we'll move on. Is there a universal law of nature that somebody has to write it this way? Not really. What if somebody in Greek decided that they just wanted to write it sigma, alpha, rho, kappa, sigma? How would you pronounce that?
Sarx.
How would you pronounce it this way?
Sarx.
It's the same thing, right? So this is a spelling convention, okay? It's orthographical. It's a characteristic of the written language, okay?
Yeah.
So I'll just say that, and then we can just move on from that. All right. Now, when we come to the genitive, it turns out that the genitive, nominative, masculine, singular ending is Omicron sigma. So now you're going to take your stem, sigma, alpha, rho, kappa, sigma, alpha, rho, kappa, right? We're all together? Sigma, alpha, rho, kappa, sarc. You had your genitive, nominative, masculine, singular, nominative, masculine, singular, and you have sarcos. Sarcos, okay?
There's nobody in there.
Well, hopefully they're up to something good. All right, so anyways, stay with me. I know we're getting to the point where things get intricate. So, nominative, masculine, singular, third declension, sarx, which means, Tommy, which means,
Flesh.
okay, nominative, masculine, singular, third declension of sarx, flesh. Okay, So is this the subject, object, indirect object of the sentence? Probably the subject. It's in the nominative, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now, what about this that we just looked at? Sarcos, right? So we have the stem, sigma, alpha, rho, kappa. We add omicron. We add sigma. Now we have sigma, alpha, rho, kappa, omicron, sigma, sarcos. So that is the genitive, okay, of the flesh, right? So it's not never going to be the subject, so far as I know. All right. All right. So let's just walk through the paradigm. Paradigm noun here is sarx. And so again, these are third declension nouns. We're looking at nominative, feminine, singular. Okay. What case? Nominative. What gender? Feminine. What number? Singular. There we go. All right. So hey, sarx. Genitive singular. Tes. Oh, sorry, I got to keep up. Tes sarcos. Dative te sarki. And then the accusative tain sarka. Uh-huh. And then third declension nouns, feminine, nominative plural, hi sarkes. Genitive plural, cone, sarcone. Does that look familiar to you? Because that's the same as with the first and second declension nouns in the plural genitive. It's the same ending. All right. All right. Dative plural, tais sarxi. Or tais sarxin. That's because that's a movable noun. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. And then the accusative plural, tas sarkas, excuse me. Tas sarkas. There we go. All right. So yes, dative forms have the iota, and the change to the stem that occurs in the nominative singular also occurs in the dative plural. That's right. So remember, like if you get confused, if you see an iota, that typically suggests dative, right? You see an iota, it suggests to you, Tommy, dative. There you go. All right. We're almost through this. You're making a lot more progress than you might realize. Do we take, let's just take, we can take like a just 3-minute break and
She's having a hard time.
with me.
No.
Oh, okay.
She's feeling nauseous. So like, you have a more intense teaching style. So
Do you want me to try? I can just do sort of monotone. Okay.
you call me out because I think I think I'm not paying attention. I actually am.
Yeah.
First I'm watching her to see how she's doing. Then I'm looking over there to see why somebody's in there. So I am paying attention.
Yes. Oh, I think you're paying attention. Yeah. I'm drawing you.
You said there was someone in there?
Yeah, it was, Diane.
No. It's done. It's done in Greek love.
I was gonna say. They must have found it out.
I guess she teaches there.
She does children's church and they.
As soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I heard a couple noises and I was like, oh.
Then I thought there was somebody that snuck in here the other night. Stayed.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, but we look around.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. That was out. Yeah.
don't mind. But I want to keep that.
That's good. Gee, if we played like the Wolves, it'd be terrible.
Are you supposed to bounce once or is it?
Well, it doesn't have to get on. This is your side. You get it.
I mean, when you start.
Oh, hit your side.
Good enough, I'm-
You a little Greek stress.
Yeah.
You see the chart on the side, you really hits, right?
Okay. Case, sarcosis. Case, sarcosis. Case. You could all point out, but it might as well step back there.
We need we need all our vocab up on the side, it's in between hits, you have to say a word.
Yeah. You're okay with me calling you out all the time just to give you more practice, right? It doesn't, feel like I'm trying to lay into you or anything, right? Okay, good. Yeah, it would be a shame with a small group like this if we weren't doing a lot of drilling and interactive this way. I'm going through Acts right now. I'm in chapter 24. So I think I'm going to get through Acts twice this quarter. And one thing I noticed, and I'll just say this right now, in case I don't have an opportunity to forget later. Third declension nouns, I don't know their exact frequency, but they are frequent. When you look at for instance, the book of Acts, you find a lot of third declension nouns. You find a lot of liquid verbs. So these are not infrequent forms.
Is that also true in the Gospels? Likely, it seems like it would just, because both of those tend to apply more to the aorist tense, and in storytelling, you use the aorist tense, like that's just what you use. So it seems like the Gospels.
I think the perception that I have, when I read the Gospels, because the language is more straightforward, the narrative is simpler, you tend to find a large concentration of core narrative terms. So you think of like verbs of sensation or narrative relation. So I see, I heard, right?
True.
And what are those verbs? Blepo, I see. Akuo, right? I hear. Lego, I say. Oftentimes in the narrative framing, there is a sort of historical present, and we've talked about that. So rather than reading the aorist, which would be the simple past, right? He said, inside the narrative frame, you'll have the present tense. So Lego, Akuo, Blepo. And I think your perception of the frequency of these different verb types is probably shaped by the genre, right?
True.
Whereas when you get into the book of Acts, you still have a narrative frame, but it's choppier and more discrete. You find fewer short quotations, longer narrative prose sections and longer narratives and monologues. Right? So you find a wider variety of verb types there of all kinds. It's more representative of the larger lexicon. Yeah. All right. Okay, so again, we're moving slowly to make sure we don't get completely lost here, right? So we're in the third declension, first declension, second declension, third declension nouns. We went through the forms or the patterns of the third declension nouns in the feminine, right? The feminine gender, so he sarx, te sarkos, te sarki, ten sarka, hi sarkes, ton sarkon, tais sarxin, tas sarkas. Okay, now we're coming to third declension nouns, but not in the feminine, but in the neuter. And so the paradigm noun is pneuma. So nominative singular, to pneuma. Genitive singular, to pneumatos. Pneumatos. So remember, we said you want to memorize or recognize the genitive form, because here you can see what's different between the stem in the nominative and the genitive, the addition of the tau here. See that? Right? So if you only memorize the nominative, then you will miss the correct stem for the genitive. All right. So once again, nominative singular, to pneuma. Genitive singular, to pneumatos. Dative singular, to pneumati. Accusative singular. Well, where'd you go? Okay, no. Okay. So kept it in the red. So, all right. So why is this in red?
Endings.
Okay. But the point is here that there is no ending, right? So in the nominative, it's to pneuma, and there's nothing else. To pneumatos, to pneumati, and then the accusative is also to pneuma, right? All right, now nominative plural, ta pneumata, ta pneumata, ton pneumaton, ton pneumaton, oh goodness, ton pneumaton, ton pneumaton, very good. Tois pneumasin, third declension, noun, neuter, dative, plural, right? Tois pneumasi, or tois pneumasin. Very good. And then the third declension noun, neuter, accusative, plural, ta pneumata. Ta pneumata. So notice that the nominative and the accusative are the same for both the singular, to pneuma, and then the plural, ta pneumata, ta pneumata. Okay. All right. Oh, that's just what I just said. Let's see. Okay. Oh, this is actually good to know. Any noun that's ending in yes, mu, alpha, it's always going to be neuter. So to pneuma, to pragma, which means a subject or a thing. You know. We get the word pragmatics. Okay. Third declension endings. We just went through them. You know, I'm not going to vocalize these, but you can see them here, and you can, you know, again, what I would want you to see is in the masculine, okay, that you have a sigma ending in the nominative singular, but there is nothing for the feminine. Okay, so let's go back up, actually. Hopefully. Yeah, see this, right? Yeah, so actually there is an ending, right? We saw that it's the sigma, but it combines with the last letter of the stem. Okay.
It
Is
sounds
that
like,
pretty common that all the feminine words end in such a way that they just kind of combine and so that way they have no ending there?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else? Oh, and then, again, you can use the knowledge that you have that'll help you. So the genitive, by now, this should be very familiar to you, right? The omega nu, tone, right? Tone lagone, right?
Mr.
Yeah.
Christensen, have you ever considered turning this into like a D&D game?
The thought has not come to my mind, and it probably never will.
Yeah.
I see so many memorization
Yeah.
things. You being the dungeon master.
Also, I don't think anyone's ever going to ask me that question again.
The overlap between those two worlds is probably not that high.
it's a very exciting juxtaposition of the two
You could
concepts.
teach a whole new demographic real quick.
Okay. So one thing you do got to be careful here is that some of the endings between the first and second declensions on the one hand and the third declension on the other are very similar. So here's a second declension noun, right? Logos. Remember ho logos? That's masculine, neuter, singular. But then you also have tes sarkos, which as we just learned is feminine, genitive, singular, right? So of the flesh, singular. And then you have to ethnos, which is the nation. And that's neuter. Yeah, nominative or accusative and singular, right? Now, again, like context will help you, but you also do want to commit those forms to memory. Write them out. I think it's Plummer who says, write them out like 10 times. Just get familiar with them. Now there's this chart, the square of stops, which I think is just helpful just to, again, don't try to memorize this unless you find it very fascinating. It's just to help explain some of the things that we've seen. Remember, we looked at the stem, sigma, alpha, rho, kappa, sarc. Remember that the feminine singular, nominative singular ending was a sigma. You had the kappa to the sigma, you get the C, sarx, right? Kappa plus sigma, C, all right? Now, make the sound k, kappa. Now make the sound g, gamma. And make the sound, you don't have this in English, but it's like a gamma, but like in German, buch. And in Arabic, it's the aleph sound. It's actually made in that part of the throat. You add the sigma to it. What do you notice about it? It's all in the same part of your mouth, right? Right? You add the sigma and you get the C. Don't memorize it, just to help you to understand that this is not arbitrary. Labials. B, beta, P, sigma, and then you end up with a S. Make sense? Where are all the sounds happening? The front of your mouth, right? With your lips. And then dentals, surprise, surprise. Try to make the T sound with the tau of the tau. Right? Ta, ta. It's not actually with a puff of air in Greek, so just be ta, ta, not ta. Right? That's theta is actually pronounced that way. Ta, ta, right? So remember we talked about the difference between top, and pot. And the second P is made with like this, puff of air. But again, they're all made in the same part of your mouth. You add a sigma and then you just end up with a shift to a sigma, right? So whether it's t, d, or t, you add the sigma to it, you end up with a sigma, okay? All right, so let's start working through some vocabulary. Engiso, I approach, I draw near. Very common in both the Gospels and particularly in the book of Acts, this particular word. Engiso. Engiso. Mhm. Some people would say at the time of the New Testament writing that this zeta now was some sort of dual consonant, more either like a S and a D or a D and an S. So some people might say engisto. So if you go on and study Greek or you listen to people or sit in another class, engisto or engitso, you might see it that way. I believe at the time, at least in the synagogue and the assembly, it would be engiso. I think they were imitative of the classical form. Yeah. All right. Approach. I draw near. Zao. I live. In which we get and zoology, the study of life. Mhm. Or certain type of life.
Yeah.
Right? Animal life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheyenne Mountain Zoo is great.
Yeah. Oida.
Wait.
Oida. I know or I understand. All together now. Horao.
Horao.
I see or I perceive. Mhm. And by the way, I need to correct myself because I think earlier I said Aiden was the aorist of Horao, but that is not true. Aiden, remember, is the aorist of Bleppo. Bleppo. So these are two words. They mean the same. They're very similar. They're synonyms certainly, but Horao and Bleppo are two Greek roots, and Aiden is the aorist of Bleppo. Yeah. All right. Horao.
Is Bleppo, it's not understand, because this one's perceived, the other one is I see, I study. No.
No, it's just I see, but it has the physical sense of it. Horao can have both a physical sense and then also
Perception, which is, not
perceptive or
Less.
intellectual sense of, I see something, I understand it.
observe. That's what I was trying.
Observe.
I see, I
Mhm.
observe.
Yeah.
That's Bleppo.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. And then peito,
Hey,
I persuade or I convince. Yeah. And this was actually news to me that our English word faith is derived from this Greek word.
I can
Peito.
Hey,
Yeah.
you took it on.
Yeah. I'm now convinced. All right. Haima. That is a third declension noun. So we're looking at both the lexical form and then also the genitive form here. You can see often with the genitive form, see that hyphen? What that just means is that everything here's that last alpha, and this hyphen just stands for what comes before it. So hematos, blood, hematology, hemoglobin, hematopoiesis, which is actually making blood cells. And then grammateus, scribe, where we get the word grammar.
Is there any way to do double mu? Like, is there any
Double
difference?
mu,
Yeah, to the sound, like with the double gamma.
grammateus.
You like
Yeah, that's different. So it's a single mu would be grammateus, double would be grammateus. Mhm. So think about it as a stop in the articulation and the time, right?
Okay.
So gram, mateus, okay? And then just say it really quickly together. Gram, mateus, gram, mateus.
It's kind
That
of
is it.
similar to the double lambda,
Similar to the double letter, yeah. Or any double letter.
except for the double gamma.
No, the double gamma is, it is, that's right. It's pronounced differently, but it's the time signature is the same.
Mhm.
Okay, so angelos, angelos, yeah, right? Not angelos, angelos, yeah. So you could go like the choir master up there, like keeping time, musical time, and Greek is a pitch accent language, and so it keeps a musical time. All right. And dunamis,
Dunamis, power,
Mhm.
dynamics.
yeah, or yeah, power, miracle, and then whoops, pus. Mhm.
I gotta go look for a boost.
Yeah, or two podos of the foot. All right. Yeah. And then pur. Mm-hmm. And that's a neuter. See, so here, again, these are the three parts that you want to just look for. The stem, right? The genitive form, and then the article. All right. So this would be two puros would be of the fire, right? Pyromaniac, pyre. Yeah. All right. Rhema. Word or saying. Or two chrematos. Yeah.
How often do you have a breathing mark like that over a consonant?
Over a consonant.
Yeah.
When a row begins a word, I believe there's always
It's the one
A rough
consonant
breathing
that
mark.
gets one.
yes, because
Rhema.
there's actually these are actually two separate sounds in Greek.
Yeah.
The row, when it happens interconsonantally, or if it happens between vowels, intervocalically, if it's after a syllable, between a syllable, it sounds much more similar to our R sound. But when it happens at the beginning of the word, it is thought by linguists to be a trill sound. Rolled R. Yeah. Chrema. Chrema.
Is this the same word they'll use to be like to show that scripture says or the word says?
It's one of the vocabulary items that means word. Logos would be another one.
So when they like quote scripture, they'll be like the word itself says, might I see this word?
Chrema. Yeah, chrema is used frequently, yes. In fact, it occurs multiple times in the book of Acts, and I can say that because I've been reading through Acts recently. Stoma
Stoma.
or te stomatos. Te stomatos. Yeah, mouth. Although interestingly enough, the English word that's derived from that is stomach.
So with these, they're giving us, it's the nominative singular and the genitive singular.
The nominative singular is the lexical form. That's right. So stoma.
And then it's giving us stomatos.
It's giving a principal part, which in this instance is the ending of the genitive.
But the
Genitive singular, yeah.
the article.
And it gives you the article. So you need all three of those bits of information. If you're going to try to reproduce every case, right? You'd need this information.
But the article that they give is the one that would go with nominative singular, not the genitive singular.
Correct.
So they're giving us a
Yeah,
nominative
the
singular
lexical form, like when you look it up in a dictionary,
article will go with that.
it's always nominative singular.
But
You're
then
looking
they're
up and
giving
down
us-
in the lexicon, always nominative singular.
But they're
Yeah.
also giving us a genitive ending. It would
Yes,
have-
that's right.
It would have a different article if it appeared.
That's right.
Yeah.
Te.
Case.
So tau, eta, iota, subscript, circumflex accent. Yeah. All right.
Just want to make sure I was
No, that's good.
on track.
Hudor. Or tu hudotos of the water, right? Hydraulics, hydrogen. hydrodynamics, hydration, right? Hudor, water. So again, where's if you were to transliterate this, just so you can see how they correspond, the H is used to transliterate the rough breathing mark. Hudor, right? And then the Y here is used to transliterate the upsilon, okay? Because as you'll remember in classical, and I believe this was still the case, at least in formal settings in New Testament times, it was the equivalent of like a German U with an umlaut, with the two dots over it. So it's like an I sound with your lips rounded. Mm-hmm. And in German, the way that is in modern German script, that's a umlaut. It's these two little dots, or sometimes vertical lines above the U, or in some texts it's a Y like that. So that's why it's hydro. You're like, where did that come from? What, from this, right? Hudor. Yeah. And then pos, light. And then hair. Hand. And actually, I think this is the root of the word chiropractor, not 100%. Okay. Let's really quickly, we're gonna go through all the vocabulary again one more time, just all together. Ready? Engizo, I approach, I draw near. Zao, I live. So we're gonna do this like an antiphonal choir. Is that how you say it? So you're gonna say the Greek, and then I'm gonna give you the gloss to the English. So you say Zao, I say I live.
Oida,
I know or understand.
or horao,
I see or perceive. I persuade. Yeah, good. Haima. Blood.
Grammateus,
Grammateus. With the strong accent over the epsilon, right? Very good. Scribe or grammar. Power or miracle. Who's or who's. But fire. Reima. Yeah, word or saying.
Stoma,
Mouth.
Udor,
Very good. Water.
Photos,
One more time all together.
Photos.
Yeah, you can say it that way. That's just fine. Or in the classical pos. Post or pos or post. Okay, light. Very good. Care. Later in Greek, it became a fricative where you continue, like it's a continual sound, right? But I believe at this, at the time of the New Testament writings, it was pair.
Okay.
And that was the case
Okay.
in the classical Attic, yes, Attic Greek. All right. Well, good. I know now there's a lot, like, again, like a lot of these forms are stacking up. Do practice them during the week, keep going through the exercises in the book. Do them once and then just review them. Write the vocabulary items down, and try to space it out during the week. But you're making good progress. I haven't been checking, but are you working on the quizzes?
I'm sorry to work on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's
As a
pick that up. Can I get a commitment from everyone to jump on those? Okay, all right, good. That's going to be important too. It's for you to learn. They're not graded. It's just for you to learn.
I just got caught up on the videos recently.
It's a good way to review.
It is a good way to review.
I started catching up on, I think I had missed a few because I couldn't figure out how to find them there for a little bit.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, so I started catching up on the quizzes this
Okay,
week.
good. All right. And here we go. I'm trying to stop the recording, but sometimes there we go.